Romans the 12th chapter. Romans the 12th chapter. And we're going to do some reading from 1 through 8. Those who can, please stand for the reading of the text, if you are able. I'm going to read from the KJV. The KJV. Those who have it can say amen. Amen. Those who are ready to read say bless the word. Bless the word. Holy Bible says, I beseech you, or I beg you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world or age, as it literally translates. But be ye transformed, metamorphosized, by the renewing of your mind. Why? That ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I'll go ahead and read. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man a measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, and I tell you, we don't all do the same thing. Amen. But the Most High has given us what it is to do. He says, so we being many in one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. Y'all, this ain't an individualistic thing. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the portion of faith, or ministry, let us wait, or our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorteth on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth, or with diligence, and he that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. Amen. You can sit or you can stand, because I'm going to read 1 and 2 again, because that's where I'm going to be. I'm begging you, therefore, brothers and sisters in here, I'm doing this because of the mercy that God has shown. Amen. That you in your whole life, your body, not just on Sunday, your life be presented as a living, yet totally devoid of self. And I want you to do this in a holy way that is acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. But there's something against you. So you ought not be going off the trends and what happens and what's going on in this day and this age in this world. Right. What ought to happen is that you ought to, from the inside out, don't be fake, don't be trying to be comfortable around who you around. From the inside out, be transformed. How? By the heart, the faculties, the real you, what is up here, by the renewing, the changing of your mind. Why? Because by doing that, you're going to prove something. You're going to show what's real. What are you going to show that's real? You're going to show that this is why we are here, to be presented and to show the perfection that the Most High wants us to show, to manifest God in this world. You may be seated. Of course, that was the Taylor version, but it's true. Just going and search the scripture. Today we're going to talk about renewing your mind.
All right.
Renewing. Changing. Before any renewing can take place, usually there's an acknowledgement that something must be upgraded. If the car companies should decide that they were no longer coming out with new models of whatever car that is, let's say no newer Camry body styles or features were coming out, Brother Cooper, they're going to make new ones, but it's going to be the same car. And let's just say you have one of the latest models. Well, guess what? There would probably be no need, and neither could you upgrade that same car, because what you would be recognizing is I already have that which is as it ought to be. You do your maintenance and you keep on going. But the moment they come out with an upgrade, you start to get to thinking, you evaluate your finances, and you say, well, I like the fact that the new one can keep a lane by itself. And I like this new driver assistance feature. So you immediately recognizing that there can be a renewing, there can be a change. So you move with energy to make that change. Your mind is much like this. As a Christian, some of us have been Christians for many years. And we have fallen into the trap of believing that there's no renewing that needs to take place. I don't need to go to the new convert class because I went there 20 years ago. Never mind the fact that you didn't learn what you needed to learn 20 years ago. I attended a class 20 years ago, and therefore I'm good. When in fact, by very reason of what has happened in society even, you could reason it this way. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, our education was not as high as it is now. That's one thing. We were not allowed to attend schools and learn the original language as we can now. So it would only stand to reason by simple logic that I could learn more than I learned back then in the same class, because more is available to that teacher, so my mind can be renewed. What we need to recognize is that we all have room for an upgrade, but when we don't want it or think that we got the latest model and that we are good as we are, nobody seeks the upgrade. Why? You got to know yourself. You have to know you. Now, some know this as only a secular concept, but the scriptures requires you to know yourself, because when you know yourself, you can understand where self is deficient of being complete as the Most High God would have you to be. God would be the pinnacle of perfection. It would be the apex stone. It would be the stone which the builders rejected, that you are striving for and trying to achieve. But when you believe you are complete, you don't seek that stone because you simply believe it. Somebody has to bring forth teaching to show you where you are deficient in order for you to give sense to what they're saying, so you can see where an upgrade is needed. There's a problem even within that, because the moment somebody points out to me my imperfections, I usually turn it off. I don't want to know how imperfect I am. We don't want to know how wrong we can be. We don't want to know that we ain't the best thing since sliced bread. I don't want to. Why don't you want to know? Why don't you want to be self-improve? Or why don't you want to be better or more of what the Most High is? And we don't realize, by thinking we don't need to be any more than what we are, that we are actually being quite arrogant, and that flies in the face of God. Because God knows that you're not perfect. You just don't know that you're not perfect. And if you can admit today that you're not perfect, you are admitting, I need a renewing of my mind. And if you don't need a renewing of your mind, then I guess we ought to pray to you. Y'all don't get it? But why is this? Paul says something in a few chapters before this. He talks about, I want to do good. Chapter 7.
Yes. Come on.
But the good I want to do, I can't do it. I don't do it. It's always something present. And when it's present, I go after it. And I do the thing that I know ought not do. Huh? No, y'all ain't comfortable with that, because what this will cause you to do is to acknowledge that you ain't there yet. And nobody likes to be in a setting of church where we supposed to be all good and Christian like in here. Nobody wants to acknowledge that I ain't so churchy all the time, huh? Well. I ain't like that all the time. You say the wrong thing, you're going to get something other than church. You look at me the wrong way, you're going to get something other than church, huh? That's the reality. But the real thing is why? Why do we do this? I want to present to you some understanding about yourself before we get deep into verses 1 and 2. You got to know thyself.
All right.
There's something called the id. There's this guy who they call the modern or the father of modern psychology. The Bible here is talking about the mind. This guy called Sigmund Freud, and Sigmund Freud had a number of different weird and strange things going on, and he was in, they used heroin in a certain type of way back then, and they used it in certain treatments. It was legal back then. And however, this thing right here, these three things that he analyzed works, and they seem to fit who we are. And I'm going to show you how, if you understand who you are, then maybe you will know why you do what you do. And then when you know why you do what you do, you can begin the renewing process. See, when you are in, and I'm going to use, just as the graphic suggests, I'm going to use many sayings and things from the movie Matrix, because there's a parallel in what we are in today. See, you have been told, and many of us interact with this world based on a physical level. This body that you inhabit, notice what I said, this body that you inhabit has become your reality, and it has become who you are, when in reality that's not who you are. The body is simply something used by the spirit to interact with this physical world. You are not your body. You are a soul. The id is just this. The id is that part of you that comprises the unorganized part of what your personality structure that contains the basic drives. The id acts on or according to the pleasure principle. What is that? Those are the things that nobody has to teach you how to do. They are innate things.
All right.
And they manifest themselves in a number of different categories. See, nobody has to teach a child, an infant, to have an appetite. That is simply an innate thing, to be hungry and want something to eat. Y'all all right?
All right.
Nobody, has to teach you about self-preservation. It's a natural thing in the autonomic system of a human being to either fight or flight. Depending on the situation, you will fight to preserve your life, or you will run to preserve your life. Either way, it deals with self-preservation. You only run away because you perceive something as a threat to who you are. You only fight because you're trying to get the thing that's threatening who you are up off of you. Y'all all right?
Right.
So we have appetite. Nobody has to teach you that. You have self-preservation. Nobody has to teach you that. And then you have procreation. I was trying to find a good word, because we got kids in here. But nobody has to teach that. It always amazes me when they talk about what they want to teach that in school and everything. And you don't need school. Come on, girl.
Come on.
You don't need school
That's right.
to teach you what that is. Because at a certain time and age, your body gonna tell you what time it is. That is the id. That's natural. That is just there. It is. Now watch this. It's not sinful because the Most High put it in you. It's natural. We're going to see later how the renewing of your mind will help you use those natural desires for glorification of the Most High. But when you know yourself, you will know how to do this. But if I keep you ignorant of self or make you think that yourself is what's going on out here and what you ought to be, then you will never please the Most High. Because see, our children are failing because of lack of knowledge. They're not learning at the home because the parents don't know who they are. They are learning from the television because the world, the age, the stuff that's going on right now is telling them what they ought to be. You want to be successful and drive the car, it's not to fill your head with something. It's not about being smart. It's not about having education. No, because those folk, I see them in church, and guess what? They struggling. So the TV has told me I better learn how to bounce a basketball, throw a football, tell some jokes, or I better just get out here on the street and do what it do because I can make a quick dollar. Or teach our young ladies, I better sell myself because if I do that, then I'm all about the money. It ain't about you, it ain't about no feelings, long as I can get that. That's the age. That's the trend. And when you don't know yourself, you give into the trend and you define yourself by the age, the trend. Well, what God is trying to tell us is that you're going after the desire. See, the desire for money is simply this: desire for self-comfort, which is self-preservation. And on top of that, the young men, you got biology going on. Y'all just bear with me. I got to get to 2 or 3 more of these things. You got biology going on. Biology is happening. It just is what it is. And usually for men, it's a physical thing. And what we see is what we want. Y'all ain't saying nothing because you're uncomfortable with this teaching. But what you see is what you want. All of us have the id. Ladies, it's also maybe what you see, but it may be what he tell you. It may be this, the vision or the view or looking at this person, it seems as though they could also provide the other self-preservation and some other stuff. And if it seems like they can provide that, whether or not they are good for you is besides the point, because what you're trying to feel is something that is the id. And why do we do this? You may know good and well that he ain't no good for you. You may know that. But something has happened to make you override that. Same thing with the men. You may know this is not good for you to do, whatever it is. Whether it be taking advantage of somebody, whether it be going with this woman over here. You may know, you know it ain't a good thing to do. But for some reason, we give in to that which even we know we ought not to do. Why I want to present to you this morning is because you've been put in a system to think that you are this body and you don't recognize a divine consciousness in you and who you really are, because when you know who that is and that God lives in you, you're going to live like that. You're not going to live on this plane. That's when you wake up and realize the world is a matrix. Amen. And we sleep. Yep. I come to wake you up.
Come on, right.
The ego. Let's talk about this ego. So we have natural desires, that's id. But what usually makes us act on the id is this right here. The ego is the part of us that wants to please our internal drive. It wants to please the id. It wants to get the self-preservation. It wants to get the procreation. It wants us to have that natural appetite. And then, in essence, the ego is the manifestation of the id in the realm of reality. Because you have a desire, then you have an ego. What your ego is gonna say, I'm gonna get what I want. Y'all come on in here. Beyonce say, got a big ego. Sound good like a song. The reality is, for some of us, that's destroying us. Because our egos are bigger than they ought to be. And the self, the man, the person, the you, the real you, is out of balance. And once it gets out of balance, when ego takes over, it don't matter what the id wants. What the id wants, the id is going to get. Y'all in here? And this is why we can know I ought not do this to get procreation benefits. Y'all in here? I ought not do this to keep myself or have self-preservation. I ought not knock somebody over the head and rob them so I can be preserved for my, y'all in here? But when the ego takes over, it desires to give the id what it wants, no matter the means of obtaining it. Give me the third. What keeps this in check is the super ego. So this is three parts that happen in your mind. Now the super ego, it aims for perfection. This is the part of you that kind of know this is what I ought to do. And it wants that. But the problem is it's usually overridden by the ego. This is the super ego. It aims for perfection. The super ego is that part of us that gives balance. It's the mechanism that prevents us from always acting upon what we desire. You ever watch, remember the cartoons? And it'll be Tom or Jerry. Let's say Jerry done got the best of Tom. He done got him in a trap and he could take his head off. Then that little devil pop up on the left shoulder. Do it, Jerry. You know he would do it if it was you. Do it. Take him out. Then the other angel pop up on the right shoulder and say, Jerry, let him go. You ought to be nice about it. See what's happening right there, that same battle goes on with us. Amen. See, the ego is on your left shoulder saying, get what the id already told you want. And the super ego is that good angel telling you, hey, you ought not do this. You know better. What are you going to do? And whenever your ego is bigger than your super ego, you got problems. Give me I think I got the normal person one. Give me the next one. See, this is what most people look like. 3 equal parts. Most people look like this. Your ego, you got your id, that's your desires. Now the thing that you need to see about this is that all of us got them. Don't sit out there and act like ain't nobody got this.
Everybody got it.
This is the problem with churches today, because though nobody want to admit, especially to our young folk, that we got the same desires.
Amen.
I know you're right. Come on.
Amen.
Come on. Tell it.
Say, well, I'm not like a preacher because I like to drink. I'm not like you because I like to take a drink, sip every now and then. Huh? Nah, that ain't what you do. Okay. See, I ain't like preaching because, see, I like to take it to the trees sometime. You know, I like to fly. Get up in there and analyze and do what I do. See people laughing, know exactly.
I love it.
See, what you fail to realize is all have the id. What you saying, Taylor? Make it plain.
Make it plain.
David is a man, not after the heart of man, after the heart of God. But David had the id. So when he saw her,
Praise the Lord.
And he said, I'm David. Huh? I'm me. That's ego. See, everybody got the id, but go to that. What's that next one? David let this next pick be who he is, and this is who most of us is. When we go to that next one, when we have the ego overrides. Now, this is what most of us at. Yeah, church folk. That's where we at. So David, we all got the id. You got the desire. I remember talking with an older gentleman, and talking to the men right now. And I said to him, he's gone. He was one of my mentors. I say, so how is it that these older men kind of keep themselves in check? And he sat back in his chair and he laughed, Brother Cooper. He said, son, it's biology. I said, what do you mean? What's the plan? Give me an equation and show me how that thing work out, so I can teach that, we be straight. He said, no. It's biology. What he was saying is, it's the id. But then he showed me superego. He said this, the difference is, you know better. It's that simple. You have the id. Men aren't, okay. Ladies think they exempt.
Come on.
Ladies think they exempt. You know, and you even asked the question, why I keep attracting the same jokers. You know why? Your id likes them kind of jokers. That's just it. No, you don't like Mr. PhD, okay, that went to school, got out of the hood, you don't like that. You want the one that as soon as somebody talks to him wrong, he busting somebody's head, been in and out of prison, got a few tats, got rippled stomach and everything. Well, ain't nothing wrong with the other guy having that either. But the point is, that's what you want. Because you know the moment he with you and somebody say something out of line to you, self-preservation gonna kick in and he gonna bust their head, go back to prison, and you sitting there trying to hold it down for him while he in prison for 5 years. While meantime, your id done kicked in and you done seen another one just like him. And so you go talking to him and now you telling him, whoa baby, I've been holding it down for 5 years. No, you really ain't. Cause he gonna get out of jail and he ain't no fool. He's street smart. So he finna go bust his head. He dead. You might get busted up too cause he mad at you. And you saying, why I keep doing this? Your id. You ain't got no balance. You ain't got no balance. You already knew. You knew. But your id said, man, he's so fine. Tall and dark and handsome. Got what y'all call good hair. So I don't know what that is. What's good hair? It's another psychological problem because they done told you your hair ain't good. Anyway, we call it good. And you seen all that and your id took over. Or your id is so strong, your ego say, well, I can get him. How you know you can get him? Because you don't have many just like it. So your id done took over. And now your ego is bigger than it ought to be. And because your ego is bigger than it ought to be, you out of balance. And we do this with many more than just relationships. We do this with jobs. We do this with family folk. We do this with material things that we want. Watch this. We do it in the church. We do it in the church because I've been in the church. So I ought to have some say-so over something because your id is telling you that you more than you ought to be and your ego is trying to get that position your id done told you ought to have. And that's why you got a problem with folk in the church that got the position because your ego is out of control and your super ego is not where it ought to be. Where should we ought to be? Give me that next one. See, this is the disciplined person.
Praise God. Thank you.
But notice this. Let me go back. Whether you discipline, that normal person, whether you out of control, everybody has the end. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Those desires will not go away. Just go ahead and settle that in your heart. They are not. We fast and stuff. You are never not going to have, and you gonna be hungry at some point.
Amen.
Huh? Whether you can or cannot protect yourself against an assailant, you desire self-preservation. Huh? Watch this. Whether you can or cannot, you might desire the act of procreation. Y'all. Yeah, somebody got it. These things are built in because they're the end. What you gotta have is a renewal of who you are and the faculties of your mind to get that super ego where it ought to be, so you can keep yourself, keep your ego, and keep your id in check.
Well,
and when you can keep it in check, this is the thing. Watch the Bible. He was tempted in all, just as we are. Hey, I know you're hungry. Command these stones be turned into bread. And you know, that approve that you are who you are. Now watch what ego does. If it was ego, it said, I'm son of God. Bread. That's ego. But when you in check, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. And then what we don't know is if you go on a 40-day fast, y'all, I'm just going to say this. If you go on a 40-day fast and eat bread immediately, you will die. It will lock up your intestines and you will die. You have to ease back into that. The enemy knows what will kill you. And when you don't have this in check and you let ego get in front of what you ought to do, the enemy has already given the plan to assassinate you. You don't even have the mind to see that. So what he is giving you is what's going to kill you, not help you. You think it's going to make you feel good because the internal id says, yes, I'm hungry. And when you go after the id, what you don't see is this very same thing that you want, that you think is good for you, the thing you think you ought to be desiring and going after at that